Thanks for watching HBC and welcome to another Cardinals Nest here on Channel 25. Dean Beckman along with Donny Nadeau, and we'll recap the previous week in St. Mary's University athletics. Also later in the show, talk about some upcoming events and other things happening around the St. Mary's campus here in Winona. But Donny, during the interview segment today, this is the big weekend for swimming and diving. It's the MIAC Championships, and we'll bring in Eric Lindquist, the head coach for both the women and men's teams, and Mark Ross, who has qualified for most of the events in the MIAC Championships.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We were talking off camera there, and you asked how many events he had qualified in, and I had said he qualified in 9 events, and you said, are any of those diving? And I said, no, he's a swimmer, and you called him a slacker. So when he comes on, if Dean has a black eye when we come back from commercial, you'll probably know why, because Mark will probably give him a swift one there. But it'll be fun to talk to those two. Off camera, we were talking a little bit, and there's some interesting dynamics in terms of the MIAC Championships and what events you can swim in, what events you can't, how many you can swim in. So it'll be nice to get those two on, and maybe we can even get a prediction from either of them on what they expect from the weekend.
All right, so it should be a lot of fun a little bit later. But first, oh, and there I am, Donny. I'll bet you never expected to see me dressed as a red-hot chili pepper.
No, as a matter of fact, I knew this was coming. So, Dean, you're looking good there.
My wife says I've never looked hotter. So, but I appreciate the HBC staff for getting that in there. All right, now let's get to the previous week in St. Mary's University athletics. The good thing about that chili pepper costume, by the way, is it's at least red, so it matches at least the Cardinals colors. St. Mary's University women's hockey, a big weekend coming up as they take on top-ranked Gustavus this weekend, Donny, and should be a couple of fantastic games. Friday night it'll be at Gustavus. Saturday here in Winona, right here on HBC Channel 25, you'll be able to see that Cardinals women's hockey game, and they have a lot to play for as they're, just right behind Gustavus. Unfortunately, last weekend they took on St. Benedict, a team in the bottom half of the conference, came away with a split. I'm sure Coach Manor was hoping for 2 wins last weekend.
Absolutely, and I know Coach Manor's hoping that loss on Friday night doesn't come back and bite them a little bit, because that was one that they really wanted to come away with 2 wins, and they played much better on Saturday. And one of the things with the Cardinals right now is they're playing very well at home. It seems that when they when they do struggle, it's been on the road. They were fortunate to have both games at home, and as Coach Manor said after Friday, it was one of those games that for once this season they did not play well from start to finish, and I think his little talk after the game probably got through, because they played much better on Saturday, and a complete game, a 4-1 victory that they really needed. The interesting thing now is right now they're in 3rd place in the standings with 19 points. At this time next week, we could be talking about a whole different jumble of teams, because everybody is so close. We play Gustavus this weekend, and then we close out the regular season against St. Olaf. So we've got 4 very important games coming up. St. Olaf and Bethel are right behind us at 16 points, and they've got definitely a couple of winnable games this weekend. So, hopefully we can pick up a split this weekend would be huge for St. Mary's, especially against a team as talented as Gustavus. They've dominated women's hockey for just about the past decade, and I know Coach Manor would love to get 2 or 4 points off of them. The way they're playing right now, if they can play the way they did on Saturday afternoon, there's no question that they could certainly come away with a couple of wins.
Right, and I guess you could say the opposite is true if they would play the way they played on Friday, which I know Coach Manor was happy to see the rebound, especially it was senior day. They honored the seniors, and there we'll see some highlights here from last Saturday. But it just seemed like everything really came together last Saturday, and whatever happened Friday night, it ended up being the same score Saturday, but the exact opposite result. 4-1 was the final, with the Cardinals coming out on top.
I talked to a lot of the coaches, and when you talk about senior days, it's a tough situation to be put in, because there's such an emotion about senior day, and these 4 graduating seniors are playing their last. As they honored them, it was they were honoring them for their last year as a Cardinal, and so there's a lot of emotions there, and sometimes it can work for you and sometimes it can work against you. Fortunately for the Cardinals, it certainly worked for them in that they did pick up that big 4-1 win, and hopefully they can carry on some of that momentum this weekend, because it really is a very big series against a very talented Gustavus team.
Stevie Feek having the big performance, and there we see the standings. St. Mary's just a few points behind second place, and still reachable for that first place spot, but they'd probably have to sweep Gustavus this
Absolutely. You
weekend.
sweep, you pick up a sweep against Gustavus this weekend, and the standings are going to look completely different
Yeah.
at the top, and that's, that would be wonderful. And there's no question that St. Mary's is talented enough to win this conference. It's a matter now of they've got 2 games that they need to focus on, and if they can come through with 2 big performances this weekend, you're right. We could be talking conference championship next week.
And men's hockey, that'll also be here on HBC on Friday night against Gustavus, beginning at about 7 p.m. So be sure to check in for that, and then the women's game on Sunday or Saturday at 2. But last weekend against St. John's, you see there a big 4-3 win on Saturday night. But then last Sunday, Donny, a 4-2 loss, and that loss on Sunday did mathematically eliminate the Cardinals from any hopes for the playoffs.
Yeah, it was. They had slim possibilities to begin with, and unfortunately that really hurt them a lot. There still technically is one absolute crazy mathematical way that they could still reach the playoffs, but for all intents and purposes, it did knock them out of the playoffs. And it's unfortunate because St. Mary's has been playing very well of late, and Friday night was a great example. They jumped out to a 3-1 lead and hung on in the third period for that 4-3 win. First road win of the season for the Cardinals. It's been tough playing on the road for them, and they weren't able to repeat that on Sunday when they had the rematch Sunday afternoon. They were the ones that fell behind 3-1 and just never were able to get back into it. 6 goals from 6 different players. They spread the offense out a little bit. They just didn't have enough jump in their step on Sunday, and unfortunately it resulted in a 4-2 loss on Sunday. So the big weekend for them this weekend because they can be the spoilers now. Gustavus is still battling for a playoff spot against, so they've got a lot to play for. So hopefully, St. Mary's can be the spoiler. Friday evening is senior day for the Cardinals' 3 graduating seniors. And so, again, we talk about the emotion of that, and hopefully it'll lead to some positive positive performances, not only from the seniors, but from the rest of the squad. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
And I know 4 wins in the conference, 5 wins overall seems disappointing, but vastly more competitive this year and more wins this year,
Well,
even though
yeah,
it's not as many as they'd like.
Exactly. Coach Moore would have loved to have seen him get 10 wins. That was kind of his measuring stick this year. But when you look at last year, they won 1 game. This year, they won 5 with a number of games that were decided by a goal in those losses. So, I mean, there was a lot of positives come out of this season. And when you look at the fact that they've got so many freshmen and sophomores in their lineup, they graduate 3 guys this year, and they'll return, the rest of their lineup. So, there's certainly a lot of positives to look at, but Coach Moore won't rest on those moral victories. Obviously, he wants more wins, and that's what he gets paid for is to win games. So for us, we can certainly say it was a much better season, and hopefully they'll just close out with a very positive this weekend, and then move on and play very well next year as well.
Donny, in women's basketball, St. Catherine, speaking of playing the spoiler role, there we have some highlights from last Saturday against Carleton Senior Day. But the Cardinals' last outing against St. Catherine, that was a game the Cardinals led by double digits in the second half, and they let slip away, ended up losing by 10 in that one. And that it's going to be tough for them to get back into the conference playoff hunt now after that loss.
Yeah, that loss really hurts them, and I'm sure Coach Pearson will be the first one to tell you that's a game that they needed to win. And unfortunately, for about 12 minutes at the end of the game there, they just couldn't seem to get anything to drop, and unfortunately, it was a 10-point loss. Right now, they head into their last 2 games of the season with trailing McAllister for that last playoff spot by a game. So they need to either beat St. Benedict or Gustavus in their last 2 games and hope that McAllister or Bethel or one of those teams falls by the wayside. It would have been nice for them to go into those last 2 games at 10-10, tied with McAllister for that 6th spot. But now they're going to need to win, and they're going to need to get some help. So they played very well. As you see the highlights from the Carleton game, they played outstanding on Saturday against Carleton, and Jess Miller and Sherry Kulig in their last home games as Cardinals were phenomenal with 20 and 19 points respectively. Unfortunately, they couldn't carry that over on Monday, and that Monday loss really hurt them.
And then in men's basketball, and we had HBC there for that one as well in the men's game. That Carleton, the best team or one of the best teams in the MIAC, and just a little bit too much firepower as they pulled away there, and then a previous loss on the Wednesday before to St. Olaf.
Carleton was impressive. They're an outstanding outstanding team, and there's no reason if you watch them, there's no question why they're at the top of the conference. They're a very good team, and again, senior day for their 6 graduating seniors, and I think that, unfortunately, unlike the women's game, I think that the emotion of that day kind of worked to the detriment of the Cardinals, and they started out pretty slow and weren't able to really get things going the way they needed to. And they'll play on Wednesday. They'll be their final home game when they host St. John's, and then they're on the road as well on Saturday against Gustavus. So 2 big games, and again, St. John's is another one of those teams that's battling for a playoff berth, and hopefully Coach Landrum's team can go out and and play that spoiler role. You can get a lot of satisfaction knocking somebody out of the playoffs. So the seniors will be playing for the last time on St. Mary's court, so there'll be a lot of emotion again today, and hopefully they can harness that into a win against St. John's.
All right, and I'm sensing too Carleton is a theme on this show, because as we switch over to tennis now, the Carleton, both the men's and women's teams, every single year at the top of the conference or near the top, along with Gustavus. The Carleton men, they actually went to the NCAA tournament last year. That's how good they are. And the women always right there near the top, and they handed the Cardinals some setbacks last week.
Yeah, Coach Hallberg knew that they were going to be in for a real battle when they played Carleton, and Carleton certainly didn't let him down. They're an outstanding program, both on the men's and women's side, and St. Mary's just didn't have enough firepower for them. And Abby Voigt and Grace Zachman were the only ones to pick up a win. They picked up a win in doubles for the women, and it was one of the. It's still early for the tennis teams, and they're kind of getting their feet wet, so to speak. And it's one of those matches that obviously Coach Hallberg would have loved to have had a little closer score, but Carleton is an outstanding program, and that's where St. Mary's wants to get to, and hopefully they can continue to improve and get better as the season goes on. And if they make it to that conference tournament, who knows? By that time, the sky's the limit. You make it to the tournament, and right now that's what their goal is they want both teams to get into the conference tournament, and so they're going to have to take care of business as the season progresses here, and hopefully they'll be able to do that.
And there we see the men taking on St. Thomas on Saturday at 4 p.m. The women have a couple of games. They take on Northwestern College out of St. Paul at 8:30 in the morning, and then they will play again in the afternoon against St. Thomas, actually in the evening at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah, it'll be a long day for them.
Yeah. Finally, Donny, track and field. It was the Cardinal Open last week at St. Mary's University. A small meet. I think there's, 3 teams involved, but Benton Cadet, Jake Traxler, Coco Booker, Brittany Keene, all turning in very good performances.
Yeah, it was a good day for them, and they always like to have that home meet, and obviously did very well. Benton Cadet breaking the school record in the 600 there. That was an outstanding time for him, and I know it was something that Coach McMahon was very proud of, to see Benton get that mark.
And then Cole Resleff as well won the high jump, and so good individual performances for the Cardinals at the Cardinal Open last Friday. And also they had a little faculty run at the end. Did many participate in that?
Yeah,
I was on the road at that time.
Yeah, you sure were. I talked to Coach McMahon about it, and they had what they called the Cardinal Mile, and it was a mile event that they had about 10 faculty members that ran, and then probably about 10 of their kids ran as well. So it was a good start, and hopefully they'll continue to do that,
Sure.
and it'll grow and build, and it's kind of a neat idea to have a race like that right in the middle of their invitational. So it's kind of a neat idea by Coach McMahon.
Yeah, good. All right. When we come back, no more videos of me in a Red Hot Chili Pepper costume. Instead, we're going to bring in something better. Eric Lindquist, he'll be on the show next to talk about the MIAC Swimming and Diving Championships, and that's next. Mark Ross will join him as well, all coming up here on HBC.
Hey, I'm Buddha, inviting you to join me for a brand new show here on HBC TV 25 called Real Attractions. We'll show you trailers from the latest movies to hit theaters and also what's being released on DVD that week. Plus, you have a chance to win free movies by registering at my.hbci.com/real-attractions. But you gotta watch to win. So check out Real Attractions here on HBC TV 25, hosted by yours truly, which is why we didn't call it Real Attractive.
When you're a Big Ten fan, every moment counts. The fiercest rivalries, the biggest upsets, the greatest plays. This basketball season, go big. Minnesota basketball on the Big Ten Network.
Wouldn't it be nice if there was a mobile phone company where you could actually get great customer service? Well, the wait is over. Full mobile phone service is now available at HBC. With plans starting as low as $40 a month on the nation's largest coverage map, HBC Mobile has a plan for everyone. Individual, family, data, they're all available. And they all come with the personal customer service you've come to expect from HBC. Stop in today at 58 Johnson Street, Winona, to see how you can get a free phone. HBC Mobile. Service you can trust.
Brace yourself. Good one. Showtime is taking you over the edge. With shows to shake you up, movies to rock your soul, and heart-pounding sports, all in HD.
Now is the time.
It's time. Get Showtime.
How could I not get it?
And we're back now on the Cardinals Nest here on HBC. Dean Beckman along with Donny Nadeau, joined now by Eric Lindquist, the head coach for the swimming and diving teams at St. Mary's, and Mark Ross, one of his swimmers. And Mark, you know what I like about you? You're an Iowan. You come to us from Dubuque. So this is your first time here on the Cardinals Nest. So tell us more about yourself, how you got started in swimming down there in Dubuque, and then how you eventually came up north to St. Mary's.
All right. Well, I've been swimming since I can remember. My dad was a swim coach at the local college, and I swam all throughout grade school and high school, and came here and got roped in.
Was he at Loris or what?
Yeah, at
school?
Loris
Okay.
College.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Great.
What impressed you, or what did you like about St. Mary's that brought you here?
I just loved the area, and they had the programs that I wanted for school, and came up, and I loved the team. So.
And obviously, we're going to put you on the spot right away. You made a huge splash last year at the conference championships. Talk a little bit from a swimmer's perspective. Your first conference championships. You know, you turn in a B provisional time. You break all kinds of St. Mary's records. Talk about that performance for you, and if you've thought a lot about it as you head into this year.
You know, that conference meet, it's just a great atmosphere. It's a fun meet to swim at, and I just know we put in a lot of hard work last year, and being up there in that big pool with a big competition, it's easy to swim fast and have the best time of your life. So,
Eric, you know, how do you try to help the athletes mentally prepare? Because I know when you're on this show, you always talk, we're preparing for the conference, we're preparing for the conferences. But I would imagine when the athletes know that, that could make them pretty nervous when conference day, like they know all their work has been leading up to this. How do you help them relax a little bit so that they can swim, hopefully, their best times?
Yeah, I think once an athlete like Mark has been there, it's easier. They know what to expect. Mark had a lot of experience at big meets prior to coming to St. Mary's, so that helped a little bit. But I think the biggest thing is kind of communication and letting them know what to expect. This is not only a big meet for us, this is the biggest event the MIAC puts on, just because of the sheer volume and number of athletes. We're at probably one of the biggest, best swimming venues in the upper Midwest for sure, and just try to let athletes know what to expect. Sometimes it doesn't work, but we try to give them all the info we can.
You know, we've talked before in the past about the fact that this is a 3-day meet, first time all year that you guys compete in a meet that's 3 days long. What's the biggest difference for the athletes as they try to prepare for this in the fact that it's 3 days long?
I think one of the things we do is, we talked a little bit earlier about the number of events an athlete can swim. Most of these athletes have one individual event per day. And that's probably the biggest change, where we go from a dual meet where they might be as many as 4 events in an afternoon to 1 event in the morning and hopefully an event in the evening with a relay or 2.
Mark, talk a little bit. We were talking off camera. You technically qualified for the MIC in 9 events. Can you tell us which events that you're going to swim in and why you chose those events?
I chose the 200 IM, 400 IM, and 200 back. We kind of just chose those because of where they were spaced and kind of looking at how I was placed in the rankings. And I just feel that I am the most prepared for those events, so just looking forward to swimming those.
For a neophyte swimming fan, what is the IM? Talk about that event, because that is kind of a special event.
Yeah. The IM, you do fly back breast free, and for the 200 you do a 50 of each stroke, and for the 400 you do 100 of each stroke.
So you get to use your talents in all of the events
Yep.
in one event.
Yep, got to do all 4.
Now, you talked about choosing the event. Coach Lindquist, how do you get involved with that? I'm sure you maybe know Mark's preferences, but you might also know his chances in some are maybe better than others, and all of that can factor in too, I'm sure.
Sure. We've got a team where we have some luxuries of communication and some time to discuss these things. Mark's a student of the sport. He knows where he sits. It's not a secret. He follows the rest of the conference. I try to do that too. When it comes time to decide events, like he said, we look at what events are on which day, what have we prepared the best for, where do you stack up against competition. He made a pretty astute observation as a freshman last year in selecting the 400 IM and performing well and scoring points in it. So one of the most grueling events out there that there is, we decided to put him in it because he had his best shot of doing well in it, and he did. So.
Now, obviously, Mark is not going to be the only Cardinal up at the MIAC Championships. Talk about the rest of the team, some of the names that we should be looking for as we get ready for this weekend.
Yep, we've got, I believe it's 14 athletes up there. Most are qualified in a handful of events, as well as some relay participants. Liz Flynn on both diving boards, 1 and 3 meter, along with Rachel Steinkamp. There's a freshman, Sarah Jansen, who's qualified on 3 meter. For the divers, Andrew Noyes rounds out the group. For the men's side, he's qualified on both boards. Freshman Anna Smarin she's swimming well this year, going into her first big championship for us. I'm very excited to see how she can perform. She's swimming some IM and breaststroke as well. Brandon Mattis, breaststroker, freshman from Spring Lake Park, is also going to swim the 100 freestyle, which is just a really fast competitive event out there that will be fun to see what he can do in it. So quite a few other names, and we'll see what we can do.
Coach, I believe it was the last regular meet of the year. I believe it was the University of Minnesota Open. Is that right? You had several additional athletes qualify for the championships that had not previously qualified. So I'm sure you had to be happy with that last outing of the year.
Yeah, it was pretty significant for us. Not only maybe pick up a new athlete or two, but some athletes who maybe only had 1 or 2 events could gain some more. Additionally, that's a good event for us because it's at the same venue. Those that are already qualified, many of the names I already mentioned, get to go up there, maybe remove a few jitters, compete in that really fantastic pool, maybe improve a seed time, and just kind of get used to that facility before we go up there for our championships.
Mark, knowing what you know now about the MIAC Championships, what will you do differently this year in preparation for them? If anything.
I don't know.
You did well last year. So.
Probably
You
just
wanna
stick to my usual routine. So
Yeah.
just go up there and try and do my best.
How about expectations as a coach, Eric? I know you don't like to put numbers and things, but what are you expecting from your teams as they head up to the conference?
Maybe put a little different spin on it. I expect effort. I expect enthusiasm. I really think they've already put in the work. If they take care of themselves, are prepared for their races, they're going to be happy with the outcomes. Certainly no coach will sit up here and predict exactly what the performances will be. Mark's situation in making a provisional time last year, well, that cut got faster. They never get slower. We'd love to see him do that again or better. I think he'll go faster, along with the rest of our athletes. Ultimately, season best performances. That's what we go up there for, to swim and dive the best they have all year.
And obviously the conference is so deep and so talented. Talk a little bit about just not only the championships, but talk a little bit about the competition that's up there in these 3 days.
Phenomenal. It's like going to a mini national meet. Our top 4 teams in the MIAC will be in the top 12 or 15 at nationals possibly on any given year. It's a deep conference. You guys talk about it all the time in all the sports. Couldn't be any more true in swimming. If a person doesn't make it to nationals, they've already swum against some of the best in the nation. So it's tremendous.
Mark, one thing on some other previous Cardinals Nest this year with other coaches, we've talked about the fact that we don't have a February break at St. Mary's, where traditionally the second week of February we would be off. The academic calendar was changed, and we don't have that off anymore. Has that helped from your perspective as to keep your routines going as far as going to class and all of that, because that will stay the same now ever since the start of the year?
Yeah, I mean, going to school and everything, and staying on that schedule of when practice is and when we're going to be getting up is always nice. I mean, the tests and all the schoolwork kind of have
obviously,
been a little bit of a factor, but I think it's overall, I think it'll help us out in staying focused.
Right.
So.
Eric, your thoughts on that? Because especially, it always would fall around the same time as the championships. Do you like it better or worse, the fact that we have class now, whereas normally we would have had a break right around this time?
I'm probably a little torn. I've seen a lot of frantic swimmers this week. It's been busy. I think most of them have handled it well. We traditionally have pretty good students in our sport.
Right.
But yes, this is the first time in at least 12 years that we haven't had today off, essentially, from classes, where we can, our last couple days of preparation are rest, swim, focus, and then depart. I think they'll handle it well. I think some of the things that you guys just said are true. Keeping your routine is important. We'll see. Kind of out of our control, so we just deal with it.
Right. All right, that's going to do it for this segment, but Eric, and thanks for joining us on the show here, Mark, and good luck this upcoming weekend.
Thank you very much.
All right, stay tuned. Donnie and I will be back to wrap things up on the Cardinals Nest right after this here on HBC.
I think we're back in business.
Hey, I'm Buddha, inviting you to join me for a brand new show here on HBC TV 25 called Real Attractions. We'll show you trailers from the latest movies to hit theaters and also what's being released on DVD that week. Plus, you have a chance to win free movies by registering at my.hbci.com/realattractions. But you gotta watch to win. So check out Real Attractions here on HBC TV 25, hosted by yours truly, which is why we didn't call it Real Attractive.
And we're back here to wrap things up on the Cardinals Nest. The Winona Arts Center is hosting University Jazz Night. That's this upcoming Monday, February 21st. It begins at 7:30 p.m. and the Arts Center is located at 5th and Franklin Streets. Also, 2 students from St. Mary's, along with their faculty advisors, will be heading to the Minnesota State Capitol Rotunda on Monday, February 28th, and they'll be presenting the results of their Independent Research and Creative Scholarship at the 8th Annual Minnesota Private College Scholars at the Capitol event. And there you see the 2 students, Jennifer Keasley. Her faculty advisor is Dr. Paul Nienaber. Also, Stephanie Valentine, she's from Omaha, Nebraska, and her faculty advisor is Dr. Ann Smith, and they'll be presenting their research findings at the State Capitol Rotunda on February 28th. And finally, a reminder, we had a couple of members of the cast on the show last week, but get your tickets now for the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. That's the musical put on by the Department of Theater and Dance at St. Mary's. You see the dates there, the 24th through the 26th at 7:30 p.m. and February 27th at 3 p.m. Just call the St. Mary's box office, or you can go to pagetheater.org and get tickets that way as well. Should be a great time. Sounds like a hilarious musical put on by St. Mary's. That's going to do it for the Cardinals Nest for this week. Thanks for watching. Tune in again next week for another Cardinals Nest here on HBC.